Hey everyone, Donna Nelson, holistic empowerment coach, lifestyle strategist, and organizational well-being consultant. Today's our final day together for covering the tips, tools, and insights for National Stress Awareness Month. So I hope that of the prior 15 days, you have gotten some benefit from those. And so today, oh God, I just copy and pasted that the wrong place. Why is that doing that to me? So today, on our final day, I'm going to talk to you about, as soon as I can get my darn cursor to work here, to participate here, the 10 core areas to assess your stress, plus the 4 must-dos to improve your stress and quality of life in these 10 areas. So this is a bit of a pull it all together assessment from all of the days that I've shared. So up to this point, in the previous 15 videos, I've shared strategies and practices for managing stress you're already embodying, and then how to build capacity to build from resilience to buffer against stress and prevent overwhelm and burnout. So there's what we're already embodying and how to reduce that and release that. And then there were the exercises and the practices, including the mindset associated with building resilience as a buffer to build capacity to prevent getting stressed out when life events or significant things happen to us. So today I'm going to talk about and walk you through an assessment process for evaluating and becoming aware of areas of your life that are causing you the greatest stress and how to reduce that and avoid it going forward with 4 strategic approaches that I'm going to teach you right near the end. So we all know that stress leads to poor health, poor habits, and behaviors. Because when we get stressed out, we start having bad habits like procrastinating and maybe poor behaviors like going for comfort food instead of going to the gym or eating the healthier thing at lunch or whatever. So stress has a negative impact on us in many ways. And so talking about as well, not just our poor habits and behaviors and how it affects our health. We're going to look at these 10 core areas very specifically instead of kind of globally like we have been talking up to this point. So because we are complex beings, we need a multi-dimensional approach to our overall well-being. And how we cope with our internal and external forces determines our level of stress. And that's why it's important that we look at these 10 areas today. So having tools and practices such as things that we've looked at already, releasing, which is very action driven, that's external. So things like movement to release stress, behavior change, journaling, releasing, what's on our mind, doing that physical, action-oriented behavior. And then capacity building, which is more of the internal stuff, right? That's the mindfulness, being more present in the moment, minimizing, the multitasking, staying here, knowing that everything right here in the moment is the only thing that matters, doing meditation to help calm our nervous system, and also protecting our energy and setting boundaries. Or protecting our energy by setting boundaries, however you want to see that. So that's what we've covered up to this point. So now looking at assessing, evaluating, and reflecting for a deeper self-awareness and understanding of what's the root of our stress, what's going on with us, how can we look at it more objectively and constructively to have a better understanding to now do something about it. So let's do some assessing now to go deeper into the source of our stress and its impact. So we're going to look at 10 core areas of your life. I'm going to look at health, career, business, relationships, which are family, friends, colleagues. The next one is marriage, significant other. Interesting how it always has a category of its own because it's so different from other relationships. And then the fifth one is finances, and then recreation and fun, personal growth, faith into your spirituality, service and community, and then the 10th one is physical environment. So looking at those 10 areas, each one will go back through individually and just pause for a minute so you can just momentarily reflect on it, and then at least this chunk of the video, go back and take notes and write these down, because I'm going to give you some questions, as I always do, because they're so powerful and empowering for each one of these. So looking at health, you're going to ask yourself for all 10 of these. I'll just give the questions to you and then you can go back for each one. Ask yourself, is this area of life causing me stress? So if you go back to starting at number 1, which is health, is my health causing any stress, right? And if we go back to the beginning, if you're having health issues, it's probably stress that's caused the health issue. But at this moment, if you're having concerns about your health, whether you're not feeling well, or there's an unknown, or there is a physical, mental, emotional health issue that you're having, is it causing you stress? And the same thing, you're going to ask that question, is this area causing me stress for your career, relationships, your marriage or significant other, your finances, recreation and fun, personal growth, faith, spirituality, service, community efforts, and your physical environment. And for each one of those, if the answer is yes, I'm feeling some stress from this area of my life, you're going to rate it as how intense the stress is on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is like, yeah, I would like some things to shift here, but it would be low on the things that are stressing me out. So that would be a 1. And the most intense that something's got to give would be a 5. So go to each of those 10 areas and rate it the intensity of stress for each one. And once you've done that, as you're doing that, ask yourself, and probably it has already come to you when you get to that area, like when you just look at that area on the surface before you even get rating the intensity of it. Can you identify the cause or the source of the stress? And even if you're not 100% sure, there's something that comes up immediately, like a hell yes. And then oftentimes, there could be something that might be deeper rooted that is really the source of that source. But for now, you're just on the surface, whatever your intuition is bringing up right away, writing down what you're noticing is the cause or the source of that stress. And then what we want to know is, what is having stress in this area costing me? So again, you're asking these 3 questions, if you will. Is it causing me stress? And then if it is, you're rating it. And then the next one is, can I easily identify the source of this stress? And in that same area, what is having that stress costing you? And what I mean by that is just as some ideas to think about, is it costing me sleep? Are you an insomniac, tossing and turning, your mind ruminating, your body's too tense? Is it costing you health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health? Is it costing you money? How much money? What do you think the monetary cost of having stress in that area of your life is costing you? Is it costing you your integrity? Having a high level of stress in that area, is it causing you to lower your standards, which is then costing you integrity? Is it costing you intimacy and connection? Might it be costing you productivity through lack of focus and energy? So, taking some time to go through each one of these and looking at the real cost of it and the things that are causing you the most stress. How much longer do you think you should let it cost you that? How much longer should you be putting up with that level of stress without creating some big change? So, the fun of this exercise, unlike, oh, I'll just give you a practice, go breathe, um, do some meditation, listen to some nice music, bazillion other practice, just go for a 10-minute walk and walk it off. We never, when we're doing that, while there's some releasing, there might be some capacity building, we're never getting to the root of it. And the core of my work is getting to the root of the damn problem to get rid of the problem. So, uh, one of the things, I don't know why this just came to mind, but I'll just use kind of like a little analogy. I grew up in a family of gardeners, and when I was probably really impressionable years for me, like 4 to 6, I was with my grandparents, and my grandfather was an amazing gardener. And he was so diligent about his practices for getting the weeds out and getting to the root of it. So, not just like pulling it, but literally digging into the ground and getting to the root to get rid of the root of the plant so it didn't keep coming back. And it's kind of funny now that I think about that. And that's the root or the core of my work, is getting to the root of it to get rid of it so it stops coming back, so that you have better strategies and that more clarity, deeper sense of self-awareness on what to do, how to do it, why that should be the right thing to do. So, with this awareness, we have greater clarity, which means then we're going to have less confusion and frustration. Most confusion and frustration comes through lack of understanding because of lack of clarity. And then we can move to having less expectations, not just of ourselves, but of others or of situations, about how we want things, how we think about things should be, or how someone else should change, because it's always them that should change, right? Or how we wish they would change. And sorry to break the news to you, that's probably not going to happen, and it's not going to help you one little bit, because the challenge is always within us, right? So ultimately, this is going to help us leading to our own inner dialogue shifting, and our outer behavior and our habits change because we've developed more compassion and started capacity building for our overall well-being just through this little exercise and understanding. Um, so, how do we get there? Let me just check because I'm not even watching the video. Let me just see if there were any questions. Okay, so say hi, even if you're watching this on the replay. Please say hi so I know that you're here. And if you have any questions on this, post them. I'll be sure to check back and reply. Okay. So how do we reduce stress in these 10 core areas and avoid it going forward? So I have 4 strategic approaches for you. So the first one is going to be a real shocker. Communication. So I see this a lot. People are so afraid to speak up. Courage is powerful. You know, probably nothing bad is going to happen other than maybe someone getting stressed out or their feelings hurt. But how much worse is that than what's going on right now anyway? So communication about what your needs are that are not being met. And again, this goes across any one of these areas. If there's another human being that plays a role in any of those 10 areas that's causing you stress, then there needs to be a conversation about what your needs are that are not being met. So you need to speak up. And what you're doing is giving someone else the permission and the capacity to do that as well. And then the second thing is expectations. So we get stressed out in any one of those 10. If there is a level of stress there, it is because of expectation. So what are your expectations that are not happening? And surrendering expectations for gratitude and appreciation will minimize your anticipation of what should happen or how it should happen or who should do what. And then, and certainly there's a lot that can be built on all of these. So I'm just touching on them so you can reflect on it and see how that applies to you. And then the third one is boundaries, which I kind of started at the top, right? So we need to have boundaries to protect our well-being overall. So whether it's our emotional, our mental, our physical, our spiritual, we need to have boundaries that protect our energy, our time, and our mind. So one of the earlier videos that I did was audit your circle. And that's, a piece of what boundaries are. But boundaries are also putting out there what your needs are and what your minimum standards are that you're going to put up with or tolerate from someone. And so that will allow you then to protect your energy. And there's many ways to, of course, practice protecting your mind through putting more positive than negative. And our time is a whole other aspect of that, right? Okay, and then the fourth one is practices. So these are the things that I kind of opened with, right? So, and the things that we've covered on the prior 15 videos. What are the internal and the external practices? And one of the things that you can keep in mind that will help reduce our stress through the day in any one of those areas that's kind of related to a task or transitioning from one project to the next is pausing. It's just the greatest thing since like sliced bread for dealing with stress and overwhelm. And that is pausing between events, activities. And I see that most of the people that I work with, they don't have a good transition. So it could be for us entrepreneurs and people that work from home, if you're just going from a creative thing to, you're 1 minute you're using the right side of your brain, and then the next exercise you're using the left side of your brain. And our brain does not have the capacity to create shifts like that, like like that. And that is when our brain starts going, I'm stressed out. I feel so overwhelmed. I can't deal with this. So we need to pause between, and even just different subject matter, right? So you could be doing something creative, and then you could be doing something really super tactical and strategic with numbers, right? And your brain needs to have like a minute to set an intention that we're going to shift now and do something different. And that it's kind of like turning the page, right? As opposed to writing notes on top of notes on the same page all the time. So having this pause between events and activities to get to the point, and it could be 1 minute. And here's what it looks like. So it could just be, okay, you're finishing up everything that you're doing. Now you're moving on to that next thing. And it could just be shifting from doing some work to now going to do the kids' schoolwork or just going to lunch. But you want to be mindful in every one of these separate little tasks, if you will, or activities for the day. So taking that pause, taking 3 deep breaths, just giving your body that time to like wind down from that thing before we move over here or up there to the next thing, and being intentional about, okay, what's this next thing that I'm going to do? And you're setting an intention about, what do I want the outcome for this task to be? How do I want to perform on this task? Because it might be a difficult phone call or whatever. So think about what that next shift is, set an intention about it, and then move on to it once you've taken a few deep breaths to lead into that intention. And reflect, to process, and learn, I guess, was the only other thing I had about the practices on number 4. So doing what we've been doing here, which is taking some time to assess and reflect. And that can be done through journaling or just that pause, like, how did that go? Did I like how that went? What could I have done differently? How could I have been better? Or what am I really glad about how that went? It's not always like assessing to like be better about ourselves. Assessing is like, wow, damn, I nailed that. That was really good. And you want to do those assessments as well, or especially, because that's what's reinforcing what you want more of in your mindset and in your behavior. So when we have our brain recognize that through reflection and assessment and intention setting, it's reinforcing that. So it keeps happening over and over. It's reminding you how awesome and amazing you are. So you keep doing it over and over. Okay. Whew. So, all right, that was the 4 strategic approaches. So here's the thing. When we don't have practices, internal and external, to process and release the energy of stress every day, not like, okay, I can't, it's Thursday, I can't take this week anymore. And you just got to like sit down and have a 6-pack or a bottle of wine to deal with the week, and now you have, you oversleep or you feel shitty tomorrow, and now you're not as productive tomorrow. So in the assessment of what's this costing you, that would be a cost, right? So every day needing to have these practices, and if you don't, it will, and it does, build up. And again, you're noticing this in physical tension, physical pain, inflammation, which is making you more susceptible to chronic illness, lowers your immunity, and you become more likely to contract seasonal illnesses such as frequent colds and the flu and COVID-19. So having these pauses between these activities, as I was saying, deep breath, let your body calm down, release whatever maybe the stressors were from that before you move to the next one. These are those little manageable ways to release stress throughout the day instead of running into one thing after another like a big long run-on sentence. um, and then the stress builds up at the end of the day and you just like collapse or whatever, or you lose your shit and like yell at your kids or something. So all right, so what else do you need from me, or life in general, from the universe, to eliminate and reduce stress across those 10 areas? So if I can support you in some way, reach out. There is a link in this with this video, where you can get to my calendar and book an appointment if there's one area that you're like, yeah, this one's too big for me. I don't know what to do with this one. And there's no amount of meditating that's going to move me off of this one. So let me help you with that, maybe with just a different way of looking at it, or if there's some deeper work that really needs to be done. I'd love to be able to help you with that. And then today is also the last day for half off of that session. So, so if there's something going on, do your assessment. If you feel it's resonating with you that you need to do some deeper work on that and you're ready to do that, then book an appointment with me and let's look at it. All right, so live empowered, doing what matters most, and you can't do that if stress is clouding all of it. So do that assessment and then decide what matters most and go do that. All right. Good night, you guys.